What's up, Hippie fam? It's Mike back at it from Hippie MTB, and today I'm showing you how to extend your Rockshox Revelations RC from 130 to 150 millimeters. Stay tuned for the how-to process. Peace. Alright, to get started with this project, you are going to need the dynamic plush suspension lube, both light and heavy. You're also going to need SRAM butter, and of course, your new air shaft, which this one is a 150 mil. You're going to need isopropyl alcohol to clean the stanchions. Of course, you got a dowel right there because SRAM recommends that you use a dowel when lubing the inners. Syringes for the oil, nitrile gloves. So now it brings us over to the tools. You are going to need retainer clip pliers, as you can see right there. Shock pump. I use Allen sockets, but you also got Allen wrenches right there. You got your classic socket with an extension, and you got your, what do they call this? The millimeter tool thing. There, it says it right there, digital caliper. Of course, the hammer, cassette tools, and then you've got your torque wrench right there. This is what you are going to need for this project today. So let's dive into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and release the air from the actual air shaft. So you're going to undo your knob. What you're going to do is you're going to take a shop towel and you're going to put it over the Allen key like this, or whatever you're using to push it down. You're going to go ahead and shove it in there. Now there will be So when you release this air, some oil will spit out onto the rag, which is why you go ahead and do that. Now the air has been fully released from it, so I'm not worried about spitting. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish releasing all the rest of the air, lifting it up. And that step has been completed. You can go ahead and refix your cap if you want to, but you're just going to end up taking it off anyways. So now you're going to want to reset your rebound. You're going to turn it clockwise all the way. I highly recommend that you count how many clicks you have so you don't have to figure it out setting it up back up. You could just literally just turn it back to where you had it. But we're going to go ahead and remove this cap right here. This does take a size 2 millimeter hex wrench, and you're just going to loosen it, and if I'm right, you can just pull it out and you end up with a cap like this. So after you've removed your rebound knob, you're going to go ahead and you're going to use a 5 millimeter Allen wrench, and you're going to loosen both the rebound and the air shaft side. And to do that, you just take it, and when you hear the crack, it's loose, and you're going to go 4 to 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, excuse me, 3. Ceramic says 3. And you're going to do the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3. And this will give you enough space to hammer it in with the hammer. Alright, so now it's time to grab your Allen wrench and a hammer, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to knock these in, both of them, and then the oil will drain out. Make sure that you have an oil pan underneath because this will drain oil out. There's one. And there's 2. So now that we've got both of them loosened, we're going to go ahead and fully remove the rebound side. And we're going to set that over here on the table. And then we're going to remove air side. And it seems like there was some negative air in there. Alright, so now that we've got both lower bolts out, it's time to remove the lowers from the uppers, and you're going to do so by just pulling them off. They shouldn't be attached anymore, and more oil will be dropping out. And there we go. And now oil is going to start spilling out. Go ahead and get all of that into the pan. Alright, so now that we've got the lowers off, I'm going to go ahead and take some isopropyl alcohol and I'm just going to wipe off the stanchions of any dirt because you do not want any contamination in this process. And I'm just going to slide this ring off most likely, put it to the side, just got to remember to put it back on there. And so what's pretty cool is that Rockshox does mark their stanchions, but however this is only marked up to 140 because this is the 130 mil version. So extending it to 150, I do lose this, but maybe we can get it in relatively so at least I can still kind of use it, but the 20% and the 10% on the 140 of course isn't going to match up. But we've got these all cleaned up. Now it's time to remove your air shaft. Alright, so once you got your stanchions all cleaned, it's now time to remove this retaining C-clip. You are going to take your retaining clip pliers and you're just basically going to make sure it gets in between these holes, and then we go ahead and remove that. And now you got to remember there are two sides to this. If maybe we can get it to focus in on here. There is a round side and a flat side. So I'm going to make sure I lay it down because this is the way you're going to have to orient it back in there. But we got that C-clip removed. Let me go put this down on the table. So you do have to remove the air cap from the air spring side first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like I said, it's just a standard cassette tool that you use, and just going to use your standard socket and attach that there, and I'm going to remove that quick. Alright, so we've got the actual air cap off, and as you can see, this fork, this is a 27.5 fork. It comes with two installed. I do have another one on the side, so when this gets to 150 I will add the third one. And now we can pull out the air shaft. Alright, so now the top cap is removed, we can go ahead and pull out this air shaft. And there, it is out. And that rammed my finger. That was not a fun time. But woohoo! We got it out, and look at that cakey, crusty like stuff on there. That's very interesting. I've never seen a grease get like that. That literally looks like white lithium grease. So on SRAM's website, they state that you should clean out this hole. And the way you do it is you're going to do it with a dowel. And you're going to wrap it in a paper towel, and we are going to stick it in there. We'll go in from this side. And there we go. We got a nice clean tube. So before we go ahead and we take care of the debonair shaft and we lube that up with the SRAM butter, we need to make sure our internals, the internal of the uppers, is lubricated as well. So what SRAM says is you grab a dowel rod and 150 millimeters up, meaning you're going to measure 150 millimeters, and you're going to apply the SRAM butter onto that part, and you're going to put it in there and you're going to twirl it around, get it all nice and buttery smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you. You're just going to apply a liberal amount and make sure that it's all across there. Just be generous with this stuff. This stuff is kind of pricey. Some people go with like slick oleum light grease, but I wanted to stick to OEM with this for like the first time ever in my life. I'm actually sticking to OEM, you know. I'm like an aftermarket king. Alright, so now it's time to lubricate the inside. And now we're just going to insert this like this, and then we're going to just twirl it around, making sure That's getting on all sides. And then take a look down in there. And it's fully lubricated. Nice. I'll just do one more sweep to make sure we're good. Alright, and that's done. You're going to go ahead and take your shop towel and then you're just going to wipe this off because this could be used for your other applications. Alright, so now that we've got the air shaft out and we've got the uppers internally lubed, we are now going to don brand new nitro gloves. And then we're going to start the process of lubricating your new air shaft. So this is the old one. This is 130 mil. And this one is the brand new 150 mil. I'll go ahead and put them side by side for you. So side by side you can see obviously the 150 mil is a tad bit longer, which is going to result in 20 more mils of travel. Sorry. As stated before, I'm a stay-at-home father. You're going to hear some kid sounds because I have to work out in the garage. And then, of course, got baby monitors up, got baby gates, got to tackle both. So, in the process, you don't see it behind the scenes, but I'm doing daddy duties too. So, thank you for your understanding for that. But let's go ahead and dive into this now. So, what SRAM says is you want to make sure your O-rings are all lubricated and that the shaft is lubricated so you know this can slide back and forth and all that stuff. So I'm going to take a little bit of the SRAM butter and then we're going to just lube up these because we lubed up the internal channels for the air shaft. So really shouldn't be much of an issue there. But apply liberal amounts, you know, because this is literally a brand new air shaft and brand new forks. So really shouldn't need to worry that much. It's actually sparkling clean inside too. I mean, should be. Only read it 3 times. But now you're going to go ahead, just make sure you get it all over the shaft. And you will be putting actual like oil in this as well. And then go ahead and put it down. Make sure we get it there. So now that we've got this all lubed up with the SRAM butter, we're going to go ahead, go back over to the bike stand. We're going to go insert this into the debonair chamber. Alright, so now it's time to reinsert the shaft. We've already got it all lubricated in there, so we should just be able to pop this right in like so. There we go. And that's in like that. Go ahead, make sure it's all the way in. Alright, and now it's time to reinstall our retainer clip. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to put it like on the pliers just like this and compress them. Go right in here. Make sure it is lined up. And that's all in. So once you've got it in there, it should look like this. Now the bottom is going to stick out pretty much in unison with this because the negative air chamber is preloaded. Alright, so now that we've got the debonair shaft in, we are going to put 3 milliliters of the heavy dynamic plush oil and we're just going to insert that right in there. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and insert our tokens and our top cap, and you're going to use your cassette tool to tighten that down. Alright, so now that we've got the air shaft in, we got your top cap reinstalled with the bottomless tokens, we're going to take our rubbing alcohol and our shop towel and just wipe off the uppers to make sure that they are good to go. Make sure that they're all nice and dry as well. Alright, and of course, don't forget your O-ring, your sag ring. You need to make sure that you put that bad boy back on there, or you're going to have some trouble resetting your sag, or you're going to have to use that zip tie method that scratches your uppers. Alright, and now it's time to install lowers. You're going to go ahead and get your SRAM butter, and you're just going to make sure that you get all of that inside these seals right here. And be liberal with it because it's going to help it out a lot. Just make sure it's caked underneath there. Do it to the other side. Alright, now it's time to reinstall your uppers. This is going to be a delicate process. You want to make sure that these are lined up perfectly. Oh, she's so adorable back there, being silly. And this is kind of a tricky part because these dust seals are brand new. They're not worn out at all. So it is kind of a tricky bit to kind of get these lined up. There's one. There we go. So I actually have an issue where my spring right here actually came off because it folded. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna usually take a pick, but you can use the small Allen key too, and you're just going to be careful not to scratch the stanchions, and you're just gonna get that to go back on just like that, and then all rest of it should be all good to go. Alright, so now that we've got it lifted up, we can go ahead and push it up all the rest of the way. You do not want to push it all the way in. You want to have a gap because we're going to have to put oil into the bottom of this. Alright, so now that we've reattached the lowers, we're now going to put 10 milliliters of the Plush Dynamic Light into each lower leg. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first 10 mils here. You're going to angle it so it stays down in there. That's 10 mil. And there's 10 mils. Go ahead and wipe off any excess that might have leaked out. And now it's time to attach our bottom bolts. Alright, so now it's time to install your bottom bolts. What you're going to do is, because you just inserted oil, you're going to make sure this is pushed all the way in. Alright, and then the air side is this black one right here, and compression side is this red one. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to hand tighten these in for right now, just so I can get in there. Alright, so once you've got them in there, just go ahead and tighten them down finger tight until you can't do it anymore, and you're going to torque these down to 7 Newton meters. And that's like 8 Newton meters, but that's okay. And now we're going to go ahead and install our compression knob. Alright, so it's a compression knob. We turned it all the way to fast, so you want to make sure that that is over more towards the fast. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. This one's literally like 0.4 Newton meters. This is literally just finger tight. You can go ahead and maybe torque it down a little bit, but don't go stripping this out. There we go. That's just going to stay like that. And then we're going to flip this back over. And now it's time to fill her up with some air. Now it does say on SRAM that when you extend it like an extra 20 mils, you add like an extra 10 psi. But to be honest, I totally forget what psi I had in here. They always tell you to check that beforehand. But let's go ahead and at least, I think I had like maybe like 75, 80 pounds of pressure in this fork. But I added a third token, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and reset my dampening. Alright, so I went ahead and I filled that up with roughly around 70 pounds of pressure. I'm going to go ahead and release the air. And also, don't forget to reposition your rebound setting. I had mine set 7 clicks towards the turtle, which means you slow your rebound. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, and now it's time to install it back on the bike. Alright, so we got the fork back on the bike. It is standing nice and tall at a 150 mil, and it looks perfect. head tube angle went from a 65 degree to a 64 degree head tube angle. And in the process of putting the fork on and then after jumping on the bike to give it a couple pumps, I heard a crack in the back. And lo and behold, look at there. I don't know if you can see it, but literally a spoke nipple popped out. It literally like sheared off, which I mean, that's cool and all. Let's go ahead and get it fixed. But there she is. She's a little dirty, but she's looking mad fine. Absolutely loving it. Can't wait to hit the trails after I get that spoke nipple fixed. But thanks for tuning in. If you guys like the content, please be sure to like and subscribe.